I'm a psychologist. I dared my client to be happy. Now I'm paying the price. I don't need to be here, he said. Fists shoved deep into his pockets. Eyes averted. The magic words every psychologist likes to hear. Not, so, why are you here? My mom thinks I need help. But I don't. What does she think you need help for? His lips clamped tight, forming thin lines. Hey, I'll be honest, I said. If you really don't want to be here, I'm not going to force you. I don't want to hold someone hostage. I work with clients who do want my help. His eyebrows arched in momentary surprise before collapsing back into dourness. Just let me know why you think your mom wants help for you. If it doesn't make sense, I can have a chat with her. Let her know. He stared suspiciously at me. She thinks I'm mad. Just 'cause I believe that. He trailed off, gaze lowered. Hey, I've heard all kinds of things in this office. I've experienced all kinds of unbelievable things. I'm not gonna judge. He bit his lower lip for a second. Every time I let myself be happy, bad things happen. Good old chairphobia. They should include that in the DSM-5. That's a very normal belief. Lots of clients I know have that belief. That once they dare allow themselves to be happy, something bad will happen. I know that. I know all that, he said impatiently. But I'm different. It's true for me, not just a fear. You've been through enough to make anyone believe that. That's how the fear develops. People are happy, and then bad things happen. So they make that association dash. I know that too. I've Googled, He rolled his eyes. I suppressed a sigh. For me, he continued, I have multiple proofs that being happy leads to bad things. He took out his phone and began scrolling. I can show you. Oh, this was getting interesting. Whenever clients express chairphobia, or the fear of being happy, I generally relied on a couple of ways to address it. Challenge the accuracy of the thought, come up with a more balanced thought. Or do exposure activities, make them do the things they feared, to see if their dire predictions came true. For both, I would request clients keep a log of their moods and subsequent events. The records often help convince them that usually, being in a happy mood does not lead to bad things happening. This guy had already done the log. Could be a good segue into therapy. He shoved his phone at me. I read the logs, and the crease between my brows slowly deepened. December 25th, 2024. Felt happy. Tried not to be, but it's Christmas. Tripped on wires of the Christmas lights. Christmas tree fell over. Squashed a few presents. December 26th, 2024. Opened unsquashed presents. Got a PS5. Celebrated until I remembered. Too late. Dad got drunk and knocked over and broke his wine glass. Mum stepped on broken glass. They fought. January 1st, 2025. New Year. Felt hope. Prayed for bad things to no longer happen in 2025. Cyclist knocked phone from my hand. Screens all cracked. October 1st, 2025. Went out with family for pizza night. Got to order whatever I wanted. Felt happy. Whole family had food poisoning after. January 21st, 2025. I've been so careful. Squashed every bit of joy. But today, pretty yellow hair tie girl said I've a cool shirt. Felt happy. Slipped and fell during basketball, hit my head. Doctor said to be careful of concussion. January 30th, 2025. Laughed at a funny reel. Fly flew into mouth. Choked and spat it out. February 2nd, 2025. Yellow hair tie smiled at me and I smiled back. Someone closed the door on my fingers. Hairline fractures, the doctor said. I looked up at him and down at his fingers. They were taped up. I chewed on the inside of my cheeks and ran a hand over my wrist. He did seem to have a string of bad luck. But maybe it was some form of prophecy-fulfilling cycle. Maybe his fear made him distracted or got him in a bad mood, and that influenced subsequent events. This is a series of very unfortunate events. Could seem like bad things really follow you around. But they definitely do. How are you so sure? I asked. You don't see it, do you? I shook my head. I don't understand, but I'd like to. I can't imagine what it's like. Living a life where you don't dare to be happy. That's . No, I meant you don't see it, he said, pointing at something next to him. Oh dear God. Not another one. I had my fair share of dealings with clients' supposed and real hallucinations. I sincerely hoped he was messing with me. For his sake. Hallucinations were no fun to deal with. I ran my fingers across my wrist nervously. Is there something that's supposed to be there? I kept my tone light. Please be joking, I thought. He seemed to think hard for a moment, staring at me thoughtfully. Then he sighed. I see a shadow, he said, staring at a spot near his shoulder, face tensing. A dark thing. I can't see it clearly, but I think it's my father. I raised an eyebrow, then caught myself and tugged it back down. His mum had mentioned that he lived with both parents, so I wasn't aware of a dead dad. Your dad's alive, right? Oh, not my dad, Dad. It's my biological father. Oh, that was not in the intake form. Is your biological father gone? Yes, he's dead. Drank too much, drove. I was 6. You know what his last words to me were? What were they? I asked gently. I had found a cool snake-shaped stick. I was happy. I ran to show him the stick, but he broke it in half. He said, his eyes darkened, and I braced myself. We should never have had you. I didn't even want a child. You killed your own mother. She was everything to me, and you killed her. It should have been you. So don't you dare smile. Don't you dare be happy. He paused. Along those lines, anyway, the way he recited those lines, the glazed look in his eyes, the sudden change in inflection and tone, told me that those words were repeated verbatim. I swallowed a rising lump in my throat. So he was an orphan. Dead mother, abusive father who also died. I hope to God his adoptive parents were kind to him. I'm sorry, that's terrible. Horrible. No one should ever say that to a child. I did kill her, he shrugged. I was too big as a baby. She died giving birth to me. That's not your fault, I said firmly. It's not dash. He waved me off. That's not my main problem. My main problem is he showed up when I was 14. It's been almost a year. He's still around, causing problems. Shit. Could be early onset schizophrenia. Or maybe a mood-related psychosis. Did anything happen around that time? A heavy silence hung in the air. I found an old photo of them, he finally said. My biological parents. They looked so happy. Before me. I'm sorry, I said, struggling to piece it all together. While dealing with the sorrow that bubbled up, the poor boy must have been stricken with guilt. Was his hallucination a manifestation of his guilt? Do your parents know about this? I asked. He shook his head. They would think I'm crazy. They already do. Besides, he said, voice cracking a little. He says I can't tell anyone. He looked at me, and a hint of defiance crept into his voice. But I told you, anyway. He glared at the nothingness by his side. Thank you for telling me. It's the first step to getting proper help. If you're seeing things, it could indicate a significant mental condition. It's important to tell your parents about this, to get you all the support you need. If it's just a mental condition, why is it able to affect my life? Coincidences. People make mistakes, get hurt all the time. They trip up, drop things dash. He frowned and cut me off. You don't believe me. Then I'll just have to show you. He stood up and to my surprise began to smile. His smile seemed pained, forced. Then he closed his eyes and was silent for a few moments. His smile turned sincere. I'm going on a trip next month, he told me. I'm gonna ride the world's craziest roller coaster. His smile widened. I said. Well, it looked like he was doing his own exposure therapy. Good. He excitedly outlined the trip's itinerary, and his eyes began to sparkle with excitement. Nothing happened. He seemed surprised by the uneventful conversation. Then he sighed and sank into his seat, relaxing for the first time in the session. It would be great if I could be normal again. Overcome this. No more stress. No more making myself sad or angry. Just be me. Be happy. Laugh. Enjoy life. Hopeful embers stoked in his eyes. That's right, I said. It would be great. You deserve to be happy. You dash. A sharp crack sounded above us, followed by a crackling burst. I looked up, just as sparkling glass shards rained down on me. I shut my eyes immediately and ducked down, but a searing pain ripped through my right eye. Fuck! I swore before I caught myself. Sorry, I said, tears coursing into my eyes. The pain in my right eye was unrelenting. I didn't dare open it. Shit. I told you. I told you bad things happen when I'm happy. You're hurt. The boy's voice rose in pitch and volume. I'm fine, I lied. The sharp pain was coming in violent stabs now. My tears flowed in rivulets. I risked opening my right eye and instantly regretted it. A piercing tear of pain made me close my eyes again. At least I could still see. There was something blocking my vision in the split second I had my right eye open, and tears blurred everything, but I could see stuff. Call for help? Will you? Get an ambulance. The boy grabbed his phone and dialed. He went pale. My phone went dark. It shut down. No warning. He jabbed at the screen and pressed on the buttons at the side. Nothing, he yelled. It's okay, I said as calmly as I could, reaching for my own phone. I peeked at it through my left eye and tried to unlock it with my fingerprint. The screen went black too. Couldn't switch it on. Huh, I said, trying not to freak out. Hey, don't worry. Just go out. Get your mum to call for help. He ran to the door and fumbled with the knob. It's stuck, he yelled. He kept trying, jiggling and hitting the knob. I'll admit I began to panic a little. More than a little. The door lock must have been messed up. My receptionist was out for lunch, or she would have been able to try to help. I went to the door and called out. Hey, Mrs. H. Redacted. Please call for an ambulance. I'm hurt and need help. The door's stuck. Could you help to open it? No one responded. Mum must have gone out for lunch, the boy said in a dismal tone. Are you okay? Is it bad? His voice was shaking. Yup. I'm good. Just need some help. The pain was getting tolerable now. Still sharp and throbbing, but I was getting used to it. I shut my left eye too. Keeping one eye open placed an awkward pressure on my right eye that made it hurt more. Tears were oozing out of my right eye. Your eye is bleeding. He sounded ready to faint. I gulped. So it was blood that was oozing out of my eye. It's all right, it will be fine, I said, not at all convinced myself. I dabbed at my face and opened my left eye a crack. There were pinkish droplets on my fingers. Damn it. Let me just... I reached around on the underside of my tabletop until I found the button. I pressed it. Thank God I had finally splurged on an emergency button. My receptionist's phone would be notified. Hopefully she would hurry back soon. I told you, he said miserably. Bad things happen when I'm happy. Hey, this is just real bad luck. A terrible coincidence, I said, leaning my head back and shutting my eyes. That position seemed to help lessen the pain by a minuscule bit. I didn't believe my own words then, but I felt I had to say them. A sudden crushing weight bore down on my chest. I fell back and gasped, eyes flying open. The same ripping pain tore through my right eye again, and I quickly shut it. The tramping force squeezed the air from my lungs. I tried to speak, but couldn't. Go away, my client yelled, waving his arms at the invisible thing on my chest. A foul stench of rotting fish mixed with the cloying scent of liquor smacked me in the face. So unbearably putrid I gagged and almost vomited. He cannot be happy. He needs to suffer. Like I did. A deep, rumbling voice hissed, and the stench intensified. The voice came from something right in my face, something I couldn't see. He can never be happy. The voice of the unseen thing drilled a chill down my spine. It sounded like a snake rattling as it glided through undergrowth. The boy whimpered, somewhere to my side. I couldn't see him, and the vision in my left eye was getting encroached by darkness at the edges. I croaked soundlessly at the unseen figure breathing fumes in my face. Something held my arms down, its cold touch squelching against my skin. He needs to soofdash. The venomous voice was cut off midway when the boy swung his chair across the space above my chest, barely missing me. Stop! I killed her. It's my fault. The pressure lifted from my chest, and I choked in a lungful of air. The boy flew back, as if shoved by an unseen force, and was flung against the wall. Yes, this is your fault too. I told you not to tell anyone. The boy was slowly lifted off the ground, struggling and flailing against nothing I could see. I kept drawing huge breaths in as I struggled to stand. My left eye took in the scene. The boy's face was turning blue. He wouldn't last long. "I need you to suffer," the rasping, spine-tingling voice continued. I stumbled towards the boy. "And I need you to use some mouthwash for fuck's sake. I would rather stab myself in my other eyeball than smell that breath," I rasped, as another wave of pain split down my right eye. The boy fell to the ground, and it was his turn to choke in air. The stench swept up to me. "You will regret that," it said. Something tightened around my throat. I pulled up my sleeve and held up my wrist. If you've read any of my past accounts, you would know that I'm a psychologist who has been through a lot of very weird, very supernatural situations. I'm like a damn magnet for them. Well, in light of those experiences, I had gotten a protection tattoo on my wrist. One I was told was incredibly powerful. It was meant for occasions just like this. I shoved it in the face of the unseen creature and waited. There was a moment of hesitation. Then a crackling chortle sent my hopes tumbling. "Oh, you think that helps?" "Tickles," the voice drawled. "Damn you, Sam and Dean. I'm never watching Supernatural again. And that damn putrid breath. Shit, I wasn't sure if I was passing out from lack of air or from the fetid stench. Unable to speak, I flipped the thing off. Then I scratched at the air, hit at nothingness, kicked, trashed, screamed without sound. Dark spots were forming in my view. I couldn't hear anything but the roaring of my blood in my ears. What a way to go, I thought. After all the crap I've faced, this is how things end. My left eye closed too, and I slipped into oblivion. For about 5 seconds, the door burst open with a crash, and I started into consciousness. The vice grip around my neck disappeared. Once more, I was desperately gulping down sweet, beautiful air. I looked around wildly and saw her, my receptionist. She had come to the rescue. The petite lady had barreled the door down on her own, after hearing the commotion within. Looks like her obsession with working out had worked out for us all. I need to give her a massive raise. The whole thing was a mess. I was a mess, my client was a mess, my receptionist was a mess. We all decided not to tell the client's mom what happened. She finally got back from lunch after we had tidied up and neatened ourselves. His mom seemed to know something had gone wrong. I mean, my eye was bleeding, for one, and my neck was ringed with dark blue and red marks. But she didn't probe. She simply grabbed her son and left, after we told her nothing much had happened, other than an accident with the lights. She might have thought that her son had attacked me. That would have explained her eagerness to leave things be and not pursue the details. I went to the hospital, got the glass shard removed. My vision wouldn't be permanently affected, which, goddammit, was a huge relief to hear. I stayed the night in the hospital, under the watchful eyes of the nurses. Felt good to finally relax. I thought I caught a whiff of that horrible stench in the middle of the night, and woke up, terrified. But it was just a dream. Nothing happened, nothing attacked me. The stench was gone. In the morning, though, I saw the scratches on the side of the bed. "I'll be done with him soon. You're next," spelt the messily gouged markings. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for upcoming videos. Stay tuned for more.